Hello there survivors, and welcome back to another build tutorial in ARK Survival Ascended. Today I'm going to show you step by step how to build this futuristic Tek Villa using a bunch of different custom cosmetics. The free ones that I've used and I definitely recommend are the modern custom cosmetics as well as the modern planks or the modern wood custom cosmetics for most of the textures here involved. However, the roofs that you see, the nice black roofs, those are from the quantum custom cosmetics, which is a premium one because the ones from the modern skins look too much like wood. But if you don't want to get the premium custom cosmetic, you can also just paint either metal or Tek black and that still will match pretty nicely. I've also used a little bit of the concrete, as you can see in this build. That is from the Klingers Concret custom cosmetics, which is another premium one. I would definitely recommend getting that one, but again, if you do not want to use it, you can easily swap that out with some other textures from the modern custom cosmetics, which again are totally free. For the rest of the decorations around the base, I've used a bunch of cosmetics to just kind of change the crafting stations. But in the gardens in the front, we've got JVH for all of the plants you can see, as well as some of the RR home deco items for some additional decorations, as well as some dermises, which of course you can always use, and the actual grass that my plants are on top of is just thatch painted with the filth color. Now I will note, and I will explain that in the tutorial in a little bit, that the front section is the only section that isn't necessarily mandatory to be built in its full extent. If you don't want this garden in front of it, you only need a certain part for the foundation support of the floating part that sticks out of the main build, which I will explain, so you can also cut this short if you're short on space and you can't find a spot for all of these foundations to fit. As always, if you enjoy these build tutorials and you want to see more, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, like the video, which is always very much appreciated, and if you want to show even more support, you can always consider becoming a YouTube member. These are the coordinates where I built my original futuristic villa, and where I do the tutorial is right around the corner. So if you want to use any of these locations, this is where they're located, right on the big island in the middle of the ocean on Estrellas. A little side note before we start with the actual tutorial. As you can see, we have the main building at the back here, and we have a big garden in the front. Now, these are actually just normal foundations with different skins from the modern custom cosmetics. This is actually just thatch painted in the filth color. And then, of course, we've got a bunch of plants on there. I used JVH Landscaping, which is a mod, but there's more and more custom cosmetics that add in plants as well. But, of course, you can also just use your shovel and get some plants from the wild with the plant pots from the Bob Talltales DLC. Then this is the Wild Water Skin custom cosmetic, which just turns your foundations into water if you want to add a pool in. And that is kind of how we did this front garden. This is definitely an optional part of the build. If you do not want to add this, from this foundation, this line of foundations is the last one you will need. So from there, we will still go out by 9 more foundations to finish the entire garden. But if you do not want to extend it this far, maybe because you have less space, you could also just have the foundations go a straight line from this point. So from the back corner on this side, that is 14 foundations, and then you can end it. And then, of course, if you do end it here, you can just add like a staircase in front of it to easily get up and off the foundation layer and bring in your tames, maybe make a little garden, decide what you do. But if you do want the exact replica of what I have got here in the tutorial, I will show you where I placed the gardens and where I made the pool. Alright, to get started, we're going to start with the side of one of the foundations. We're going to place a foundation down, and we're going to go out by 21 in total. So we just want to bring this out all the way until we get to 21 in total. And that should be about this. Then we want to go and make this 3 wide in total, so just like this, and then we can start filling in this part of the foundation all the way through back to the end. So it's going to be 3 wide, 21 long, and this is the side of the entire ground. Now again, If you want to build only what is necessary, you can make this 14 long instead, but you will have to make some changes to whatever we built at the front of the building, or of the gardens in this case. Here at the back of our foundations, we want to add in some stairs. So we're going to have 2 stairs right down here. And next to it, we will actually expand the building by 4 foundations like this. And then over here, we're going to add 3 more. So, and then on the outside, it is 3 over here and 3 over there. Okay, this side, we're going to actually expand until it's 6 in total. So just like this, 6 in total. Then we bring it in by 1. And we have 4 here on the outside. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we'll bring it in by 1. We have a gap of 3. Then we can bring it out. So a gap of 3 here in the middle. And then we can bring out 3 in total here on this side as well. Here in the middle, we can have some ramps going into the ground as a way to enter the foundation. Alright, so then here on this side, we're actually going to make sure that this is expanded until it is 6 in total once more. Then we go in by 1, and then we'll add 4 of them that need to be visible. 1 more to bring it back out, and then we can have 7 in total right over here. So this, if you do not want the whole front garden, is where you can go across all the way to the other side, and that should line up with what we did on that side. But again, if you do want the whole gardens, we're going to expand this a little bit further. So right from here, we're going to continue with 9 more in total if we want to have the whole garden in front. And then we can start bringing this across the front here as well, all the way until we're almost at the other side. Now you will notice it's not going to line up completely, so we're going to line it up in this way instead. And then here at the end, we can add in some stairs as a way to enter the foundations. And here on the other side, we're going to go in by 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then over here, we're going to add a little square of 4 foundations, and that we can use to build some more stairs to get in and out of this shape. Then over here on the side where we have this little entryway, we want to add a staircase right there too. Alright, we're going to make the division between what's going to be the actual villa and what is going to be the garden. So starting from this corner, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where we're going to start bringing this line all the way across to the other side. This is slightly more inward than what you would need for the full foundation support, but this is going to be what is the actual villa build, and that means that we can start filling in this entire part of the build with all foundations to create all the support that we will need for this build. So yeah, we can just kind of start filling in this entire shape. It does have some weird corners and stuff everywhere, but this will allow us to stop worrying about foundation support in the rest of the build as soon as we filled all of this in with our foundations. And of course, I'm using metal in this particular video, but it doesn't really matter what you build it out of, especially if you plan on skinning it like I did, because you won't really see it, but you would probably want to still pick something that is decently strong so that your villa will stay and last a lot longer than, for example, if you build the entire thing out of thatch. That could be possible, but maybe not the wisest thing to do. So for the rest of the foundations, it kind of depends. If you didn't want to add the full garden, there's 3 more foundations that you will need for the support. So you can just kind of add and just fill in the rest of the line and make a nice way or entrance the way you want to. But for us that want to copy the garden that I had, we're going to go, of course, follow a specific pattern. First of all, we're going to start here on the sides and make the outside layer 2 wide in total. So we're kind of just going to follow the entire outside line of the garden area and make this 2 wide. And on this side, it counts from this corner. So these 2 we want to fill in all the way, since the walkway on the side is slightly apart from the garden area. Okay, then it's time to start adding in the garden parts. We're gonna go here into this corner, so where we have this little small stairs addition, and we're gonna fill this in 3 wide in total, and then it's gonna be 8 long. So we're just gonna go slowly but surely until we have 8 long, 3 wide, and that is gonna be a nice patch of green. Here on the other corner, we're gonna do the same thing, so 3 wide, and in total we want to make sure that it is 8 long, so just like that. And now that we have the garden filled in, we can actually just start filling in the rest of the foundations like normal, because, well, for the water part, we kind of just need foundations to be there and then use the skins, so we don't really need to do any specific foundation placement. So we're just going to fill in the rest of the garden area with all foundations to get all the area covered. So we'll just follow along and fill all of these areas in. And then once again, for the little pool in the middle, I use the wild water skin. It's custom cosmetic, but I think there's also other water options available if you would want to. So then we take out the wild water skin and we want to start applying it. So from the outside of the garden, we want to go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2. So here, this is where we want to start the water. We want to make sure that it goes equally the same distance to the other garden. So it's going to be 5 wide in total. And then we're going to take it out here in the length. Now we're going to make it slightly longer than the gardens. 1, 2 more out here. And then we can start filling it in all the way around. And yeah, we can add in a nice garden, of course. If you didn't pick up the plants, you will now see them again. You will see the ground below it. So yeah, make sure you pick up all the plants. Or of course, just whip them out and easily clear them that way. And there we go. We have the 2 gardens and we have the pool in the middle. As I said, I use the filth color. Now I use the Architect Structures Remastered paint gun, which is a little bit faster, but normal paint guns, of course, or normal paint will work. And you want to paint these in the filth color. I always like that color, but if you want to pick a different green, go ahead. And these are your garden areas. All right, we're going to start here at the back corner of the build. We're going to take out our roofs here, and we're going to go up by 4 in total, just like this. And then we can go in by 2 more. So we kind of fill in this little side corner. Then here on the sides, we can have our slope walls on top of these, just like so. Then we're going to go out by 3 walls from each of these. So 3 full walls from each of these slope walls. And this one at the top, we can actually continue a little bit further. For now, we will just end it right over here. And then we can have slope walls going back up like this, creating a nice little steep corner here. Then here on the inside, we want to have 3 of these going up just like so. Then here on this side, we want to have 1 slope wall just there on the corner. Then we actually want to take out our ceilings and we want to add 3 of them in here, which should line up with where the foundation starts. Then we can bring out 2 roofs just right up there to kind of bring it back up to the top. Then here on the inside, we actually want to fill in 2 of these walls for now and have a slope wall right there. Here on the inside, of course, we can also make sure that we fill in the rest of this shape. We can follow these slope walls like that. And of course, we can add them right over here. If you want to, you can, of course, add in some secret doors. If you maybe want to hide some storage in here, just be aware that not all custom cosmetics seem to be working on secret doors. So for my part, I'm just going to leave it like this. And then over here, we can also continue this shape. Then here on the ground, we want to take out our walls that we're going to turn into glass. Now, I usually have Architect Structures Remastered glass, which is from a proper mod, so it's not a custom cosmetic. But, of course, there's plenty of custom cosmetics out there nowadays that can turn walls and slope walls into glass. So if you're unofficial, especially, you just use one of those and pick whatever you like best. And in the worst case scenario, you can always use the greenhouse glass, of course, although that is not very nice to look at. Or potentially, I guess you could also use the frontier skin, but again, not the best combination. Here on this side, we want to have a glass wall right here, leave one open, and another glass wall right there. In the middle, we're going to have a nice double door. And then, of course, we can actually add in the doors to the middle there, right like so. That means from right over here, we can actually start another roof going up like this. And that should meet up with the same height as the platform that we had before. We're going to add in, of course, our slope walls here on the side, just like that. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side as well, just like so. And then we're going to, of course, bring out the walls by 3. So 3 over there, 3 over here, and 3 over there. Then on this layer, of course, we can continue with connecting it back up with the other side. So we'll do the same thing over here, connecting these up. 3 out from this, 3 out from that, and 3 out from here as well. Then here on the inside, of course, we can make sure that we fill in the entire glass wall. So again, we're going to fill in 3 over here, 3 over there, and then, of course, filling in the slope walls wherever we can to create a nice window in here. Then we want to take out our ceilings, make sure that we fill in this part so that this one is entirely closed. And this is one of the side entrances to the Dino Pen layer. Then, of course, we can take our slope walls here on the side, fill these in on both ends, just like so. And this is where we can start adding in our roofs again. So this is going to be 4 high. This layer we're going to expand and make the rest of the build. And we're actually going to bring these all the way across from this one that we've just built, all the way until we meet the other end of the building. So make sure to align this correctly with the last part of the foundations. Then you can bring these back down into the foundation itself. We can add in our slope walls here to the side, just like this. And then, of course, we can have 3 full walls from each of these. And then this top one, of course, is going to continue for a little bit further. Then here on this side, once again, the same pattern, bringing up these slope walls, which means that we can fill in the roofs here on this side too. So 3 of them all together, and then we can fill in this part of the wall as well, the slope walls here, and of course on this front too, just like this. And then we can fill in the remaining wall to fill the side here. And again, this one is going to continue a little bit further. Then right over here, we're going to start another one, bringing it up by 4 in total, just like this. And that means we can add in our slope walls to the side of this. Both sides, of course, just like so. And then, of course, we have 3 walls from this, 3 walls from these. And we continue this pattern all the way until the top layer. The top layer we can then back up and connect to these that we already had placed before. And we can connect them all the way through. Here, of course, take it up by 3, take it up by 3. All the way on. Then over here we can have our slope walls going up. We do the same thing here on the outside, of course, creating that nice shape in here. And then we can have the roofs in here, and you can even, if you want to, connect it back over to the side here. And if it lets you, you could even have a slope wall in there. If you have cheats, you can of course ghost in and always force yourself to place this. Then for the rest of the wall, of course, we're going to want to have a door right here. Then we're going to fill in the rest of the window, basically. So we have all glass walls or normal walls with a glass custom cosmetic to change them into windows. And then we can just fill in that entire shape. And of course, add in our ceilings above that gap like so. And don't forget to add in the doors to this entrance. So we're starting to get somewhere with the Dino Pen. Let's work here on the back. We're going to actually continue these roofs all the way over here. And we have to once again pay attention to where this corner is. So that's where we're going to end it and bring the roofs back down into the foundation. So they should end 2 from the end, just like this. And then of course we can start filling in this side over here with our slope walls. We can of course then also bring out our walls. This one we can actually continue all the way over to the other side where it connects back in to this roof. And here we can bring it up by 3, bring it up by 3 for all of these layers. And then of course bring our slope walls back in. And then here on the other side, we want to basically do the same thing, fill in all of these, except this one right here on the corner. This corner, we can actually just bring up these walls just like so. So we can actually build a corner. We will do the same thing over here, build this corner just like that. And we're actually going to build an entire pillar here. Again, you could use some secret doors if you want to utilize this for some secret storage, but I'll leave that up to you. So at least we want to build these corners, and then of course bring these out by 3, bring these out by 3, all the way like this. And then for this layer at the top, of course, we can make sure that we bring it all the way across to the other side until we meet where the roof begins. We can add in our slope walls here on the inside as well, and of course add in the roofs just like this. Then we can also fill in this layer with the ceilings just like so, and of course we can have this one continuing there, and we can actually continue these ceilings underneath the roof all the way through to both sides. So for both of these, we're gonna continue adding in these roof pieces just like that. So from one side to the other. Then right over here, so where the beams comes across, we want to start filling in a wall from the top to the bottom. So we still have the ceilings here on the outside, and we can also add in the pillars to both sides of this. Then we can leave a gap of 3, have another pillar go up, leave a gap of 1, another pillar going up, and then a gap of 2 with another pillar right there. On the other side, we're going to do gaps of 2. So a gap of 2 for a pillar, another gap of 2, and another gap of 2 for more pillars. We'll take out our walls again. This one right here, we should be able to just fill in like this. Then we want to take out our large cellar doors, change it not to the hangar door, but to the barn door. Find the right snap point here and add in the gate right over there. So that is one of the entrances to the Dino Pen. And then we can add in some glass walls for the rest of this so that we still can enjoy all our lovely views and admire our beautiful tames on the inside as well. So we're just gonna fill in all of these walls here at the front of the building, so you kind of overlook your beautiful gardens if you decide to make them, or whatever view you have at your base. And then here on the inside, we also want to make sure that we add some roofs going back up into the ceiling to kind of smooth out this side of the build. So we'll do that on both sides of the big beam and just bring them all the way up like this. Then over in this little corner, we want to add a pillar right over there. You can also extend it into the ground if that is necessary. And then you can also add in a window right here and a window right over here as well. Then for this little corner where we still have a sliver that is open, we want to add in 1 window and then 2 slope walls to fill in that little corner. Then over here on this side, we want to add a pillar right over here. It's going to be 3 high, another pillar right over there, then a gap of 2 with another pillar. We can then take out our big barn doors again and fill them in right over there. So that's going to be another one of the entrances here to enter this Dino Pen. And then on both sides, we just want to start filling in our glass walls to make sure that this wall is also completed. So this side as well, we're just going to add in windows all the way over here. Then of course we want to make sure that we bring out our ceilings, filling out this part of the build, making sure that it meets up with the wall just like this. And then we can bring out our roofs again and bring it back up to the next layer. So we're bringing this up, and that finishes this wall too. Then we have some small things to take care of to make this look a little bit nicer. So we want to add in some railings. You can, of course, add them here as well. Don't have to, of course, with the gates. It makes a little bit more sense to maybe not add them. Maybe unofficial, this last one is going to be tricky. You can also, of course, decide not to have any railings at all if you do not believe that you need that safety. Then here on the side entrance, we want to also add in some railings. Here on the other corner, we're going to add in a railing right here for now and one right over there. And then over here, we actually want to add in walls just like this. So we're going to just wall off this section, and then the other half is actually going to get another window. That is it for now. The rest will continue with the rest of the layer of the build. But for now, this is the entire Dino Pen area. Alright, then it's time to start the entrance to the next layer. First of all, we're going to add in some ceilings. We're going to start right here, filling these 3 layers in and continuing from this side all the way to the end where we meet up with the other layer of roofs here. So right over here, we should meet up with the roofs. Then we're going to go in by 2. And then here, this is where we add another 2 of these ceilings going all the way again to the other side. But also here at the end, we want to make sure that we leave the last 2 opened up. Here at the end, we're going to add 5 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in total. And then this is actually where we're going to bring one of these roofs all the way back down to below. And it should meet up with the edge of our foundation. So just like this. And then, of course, we're going to add in our slope walls on the sides of these. Just there we go. Here on the other side, we're going to do the exact same thing. And then we'll bring them out by 3 each time. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. So they're not lining up with the one we have on that side. We can bring in our slope walls over here. And then, of course, on this side, we're going to do a similar thing. So bring them out by 3, just like so. And fill all of these sides in. And in the slope walls. And then, of course, we can also add in the roofs here on the top, just like this. Then we're going to raise this up a little bit more. So we're going to add 1 more here and 1 more over there. So that we basically can make this slope 2 higher than it is right now. So it's going to go on for 2 more. Of course, this side we will also fill in just like this. And then over here, we're going to actually raise it up by 1 more layer. Just the walls are going to go 1 higher. And then we can fill in this side with walls all the way until we meet the end of the ceilings here. We can have this one filled in all the way through. And then this one will have 2. And we can start filling in the rest of the side wall here all the way until it meets back up with the end. And then here we're going to connect 5 more in total, just like this. And then to fill it all in, we're going to connect ceilings here, 5 in them on total as well. 5 more over here, just like that. And then on this side, we're actually going to do the same thing. So 5 over here, just like this. If you want to save some materials, you can actually remove this wall, bring out 5 of them right over here. And then 5 over them on that side too. So that kind of creates this little box and little entrance here. Then on this side, we want to fill in our railings around the corners just like this. And all the way up to this part over here. And also around the corner. Alright, so we've almost built the entrance to the normal base. We actually want to take out our stairs now and start bringing them down from those ceilings. So they're kind of hidden between the entry of the Dino Pen and then this new border wall that we've created, which is a really cool design feature in my opinion. And then for now, we're going to just add 2 railings right over here to the corner. Okay, it's actually time to start filling in the rest of this layer so we can kind of just follow the outlines that are available. So here at the front, we'll follow all of this. Pretty straightforward, just going along the roofs over here until we meet the end. Then this also still pretty straightforward, just following the side of the building until we meet the other line of the roof. And then here we're going to also follow it. Of course, here at the back, it is a little bit more interesting. We're going to go right until this part. And then, of course, here we go in by one for this section, going back across until we meet up with what we've already built. And now we can kind of just start filling in all the rest of this with our ceiling. So basically we're going to cover the Dino Pen layer with a nice new layer of ceilings, which is where most of the rest of the base is going to be taking place. So all of your crafting, storage, or whatever you want to use the base for is going to be over on these layers. So we're just going to quickly fill in all of these all the way around, just like so, until we have a nice new layer to work with and to add our new designs on top of. So just filling in the last remaining ceilings over here, and then this one for the last ones. And then we have a big new canvas to work with for the rest of our designs. All right, then if we're looking at this front, we're going to start building right over here. We're leaving the last two open. Then we're going to have two walls right here, leave a gap, two walls, another gap, and two walls. And all of these walls we're going to be making 2 high in total, just like this. Then here on this end, we're actually going to use some pillars. We can then also connect 2 beams to this. We can take out some ceilings. We're going to actually go in by 3 in total. And we can fill in this entire bit with 3 wide ceilings. And we're actually going to extend this by 2 in total. We can also add 1 more wall right here and then have slope walls to connect back up to the ceilings. And then here at the end, we're gonna of course add in roofs. So we have 2 roofs like this, then bring them around like that on the other side. We can on the other side fill in these 2 slope walls and fill in this wall. That's it for now. Then on the inside, we want to have 1 ceiling over here. We can then actually add in slope walls like this and like that on the other sides, and add in our roofs here on the inside just like this to create another entrance or exit to that side of the building. Then over here we can take out some quarter walls on the bottom and on the top layer of this build, so just like that. And we're going to leave open some areas here which are going to be turning into some windows. So we want to have our pillars right on these corners. You might need to cycle through some snap points to get the right ones, and then we should be able to also connect beams to these to create some nice windows here to have a nice view over your garden or whatever your base is facing. All right, then it's time to start on the next part of the build. We want to have a wall right here, and that's going to be 6 high in total, just like this. And then we're going to go around the corner to build the other wall. So basically create a little corner. Both are going to be 6 high. We're going to leave a gap of 2 over here and then build 3 walls that of course are going to be the same height. So 6 high in total, just like this. And that already starting to form our building here. Then here on this corner, we want to expand this as well. So we're going to bring this up by 6 in total too. Create that little corner over here as well. So basically mirroring what is going on the other side. We're going to do the same thing for this wall. Bring this up by 6 in total, so it is also equally tall. Then this wall here on the corner, just as below, we're actually going to fill in the entire corner. Again, you can use secret walls if you want to utilize the space, but for that corner we want to completely fill it in. Then this wall over here we're going to bring up to the same height as well, right over there. And on this side, we're going to bring 2 walls in. So just like this, we're going to bring 2 of these all the way up. And then here, we're going to bring in 1 wall over here on this corner. And that's going to go to the same height. And then over here, we also want to bring in this wall all the way to the same height. Then for this, we're going to place 3 walls right over here. And then you have a choice. You can either continue it all the way up, but what I did is make the most important room in the building here. So a little toilet room and have a little doorway there. So then we'll have one ceiling in there as well, so you can utilize that space. And of course, add in the door. And then here along the top, we're going to start with 2 of these quarter walls. Here we're going to bring them all the way across the front of this building, just like this. And then over here, we're going to do the same thing. So along the entire front, we're going to bring these quarter walls across to the other side. Continue that over here, all the way across to the corner. Not this one. And then 2 more over here. Then we'll have our quarter ceilings, and we can follow the shape of these walls all the way around too. So we're just going to follow it around and add in these little quarter ceilings on the top layer, just like that, all the way around until we meet the other side. There we go. Then here at the end, we want to place our quarter walls just like this, and then we can start filling these in. So just quickly all the way around from one side to the next. Adding all these little quarter walls to basically create a little ledge around the top of this section of the build. There we go. We can go all the way across until this corner. Now we actually also, of course, want to make sure that we have a roof here, so we can start filling in our ceilings from one side to the next. But we're going to also have a roof skylight, so you want to just start with 2 layers from each of the sides for now. So we're just only filling in the first 2, so just slowly making our way around the entire shape. Then here actually we also want to add in a layer of 2 all the way across. Then we can add our beams around the skylight that we're creating, so just adding in beams all the way around. And again, you can use some glass skin for this, but you can also use your greenhouse ceilings, because they actually are pretty decent to get in a nice skylight here on the top. Then here on the side of the building, we want to add in beams over here. And then we can also add in some pillars along the side of the building, just like that. On the other side, we also want to start with bringing our beams all the way from the bottom to the top. So first the pillars all the way around, and then we can have our beams at the bottom and at the top layer right over there. And of course, we can fill in the remaining part of this window, because we already started a little bit in the Dino Pen layer, but now we can fill it in. So on the back, it goes all the way from the bottom to the top. And then over here, we can also start filling in this balcony. This is kind of going to be a rooftop balcony here, where you can enjoy the views or maybe park some of your flyers. So for now, we're going to fill it all in with some ceilings. And then we also want to make sure that we add in the layer in between these as well. Then we can take out our pillars, add a pillar right on this corner, and on that corner, take a gap of 2, another pillar, and another gap of 2 with another pillar. Now here you can either have the door to the side of this gap, or of course you can use quarter walls if your cosmetics work on those as well. It's whatever you prefer, but at least you want to have a door here, and then the rest of it can just be a glass wall all the way through again. So we'll fill in this wall all the way along the side, just like that, so that we have this side of the building filled in as well. And of course, we are not going to forget this big window over here also needs the glass in it to really be a window. There we go. So that's another corner of the build done, and it's starting to take shape for sure. Then it's time to start on the final part of the build. We're once again taking out our walls, and we're going to start right here by bringing this up by 7 in total. So just like this. Then the bottom 2 layers we can fill in, and then we can bring this one up by 7 in total as well, filling in the top. And then we can kind of make another nice big window here by bringing the pillars and beams all the way around it. And of course, filling in the glass in the window part itself, just like this. All right, and then if we follow the shape of the building, we're going to go in by 4 walls right over here. We can completely fill those in, and of course, make sure that they are 7 high in total, just like this. Then we can bring 3 across to the inside, and the rest of this is going to be a big glass wall, so we can fill in all of this with our glass or use our cosmetics to get the glass wall. We will have a pillar on the side of this window. No beams at the top unless you really like the look, of course. And then we can also have a pillar on the opposite side. Then we can have a dino gate right over here. And of course, we can add in the actual gate itself so that we have a nice big entrance here, which is really convenient if you want to drop off stuff with your flyers. Then above the gate, we just want to continue this window just like that. We will also, of course, add in the pillar going all the way from the top to the bottom. And then we can start filling in the last bit of this wall. So for this top layer, and then we can bring it all the way down over here as well. We'll fill in this corner by bringing up the wall this way. And that means we can also bring this wall across to the other side over here. That means that this corner, we want to bring the wall all the way from down here up to this corner to fill in this bit. Then we also want to fill in a wall right over here, bringing that back up to this. So basically supporting this side. And to kind of make sure that these two different walls are separate, we can actually add in some pillars around them, so you easily know the difference and you can skin them in different colors, as you will see later. Then over here, we're going to add in a nice door to go to this walkway that we have on the outside. Of course, filling in the door as well. And then the rest of this wall we can fill in all the way back to the top. Then on this corner, we also want to have 2 walls, filling them all the way in up to the top of the building. And then we can bring them across to the other side. Then over here, we actually want to add in another door, and we'll see later why. But for now, we'll just add in the door right there. And we'll have a pillar that goes down over here. So in the middle of this section, and it also goes up right over here. And then we can start filling in a big windowed wall. So we have a big window wall right here on this side, but also right over here down below. So just like this. And then we can also add in some pillars right on the side of the window on both ends. There we go. Then it's time to start adding in some more ceilings and layers to the inside here. So first of all, we want to add in 2 wide ceilings right here at the back. We can take our stairs and then bring them down from here, which means we have a nice easy way to get up there. If you want to, you can add a nice little support beam here. And of course, we can have some railings on the side of the stairway right over there. Then we can continue these ceilings along the front of this window, so until right over here. Then we want to take more stairs, bring them up by 1 over here, and we can bring this layer across to the other side like so. That means that we can have some railings over here, and of course along the side of this walkway. But basically means that you have a nice size over here, you have some optional storage room over here, then you can take this walkway up, and of course from this side we can start filling in this layer, which is another big room for you to use. So we can kind of just fill all of these shapes in to create another room. Of course, you can do different ways of filling this building in if you want a different layout on the inside, but this is just the way that I designed it to still keep that nice open design, but still utilize most of the space that is available to you. Then we want to take our walls to this section back here. We want to have 1 full wall going up right over here, the same height as everything before. Then we want to have a gap of 2, bring another wall up just like that, then another gap of 2, and bring another wall up just like this. At the top we can connect these pillars just like this, and we can add in some beams in between the sections. Then we can bring out our pillars, bring them down along the side of these walls as well as in the middle of them to create a nice design. We'll do the same thing over here. So on the side, on the other side as well. And right in the middle, we'll have another pillar going up just like this. Then we can take out the ceilings and we can go around the outside here of this layer, following just this. Go one further. Then we can take this across to the main building. Just keep following the outline. So making sure that we're one on the outside of the wall. We will follow the entire outer wall of this place. So all the way over here. Once again, one to the outside. And then we can take the turn and go all the way around. And we'll take this all the way until it lines up with where we started. And then, of course, we can start filling in the remaining section of this build. And before we start filling in everything, we want to add one more layer right over here. So just like this. And then we also want to add in a layer right alongside these walls. Then what we want to do here is to the inside of this wall, we'll also add a layer of ceilings, just like this. And that means we have a nice shape over here, which we can actually have some beams around, which is going to be another skylight. So around the top, we'll just add these. And we can fill in it with glass ceilings or greenhouse ceilings to get the nice skylight there. Then for this section, what we want to do, we actually want to take out quarter ceilings. We want to place 2 over here, 2 over there. And then we can fill in the middle with full ceilings again. And this side, we can also add another layer of ceilings so that we get this little design to go on over here, which brings us to another section pretty much complete. Before we continue on the last part, we're going to actually dive back down into this balcony because we haven't made a wall here yet. First of all, what we're going to do is fill in this side here so that that is a closed wall. Then from this corner, we want to leave a gap of 2, place a pillar right here, another gap of 2 with another pillar. Once again, you can try and line out the door in the middle by using some quarter walls on the side. Make sure that you do change them to glass, however. And then, of course, we can have the door in the middle again. And the rest of the wall is just going to be glass as well. So we'll have all of these nicely filled in. And then we have this entrance complete too. Then it's time for the final part of the build, which is also one of the key features and really stands out a lot. But because we have this big box out here in the front, which has a ceiling at the top, which we're going to, of course, skin all in the same material so that it looks good from the inside, we need a dividing wall on the inside of this room. So we're going to have a pillar right here, make it 3 high, and then fill in the rest of the walls 3 high as well, so that the room over here has the same texture as this entire shape. And then from this point, we can have a different texture for the rest of this building, because this is, of course, also going to be visible from the outside and from down below. So we're going to start right over here, and we're going to go out by 6 in total, just like this. And then we're also going 6 across in total. So that's 4. And then this should be it. We bring this back in to the rest of the building, and then, of course, we can start filling in this entire shape. So this is gonna stick out from where it all began, and from here we're gonna actually stick out a little bit more. So we have one of these roof pieces, and we're gonna have 4 of them in total. Then we can bring this across, so just like this. And then, of course, over here we want to make sure that we do the same thing, bringing out these roofs, and this piece is going to stick out leaning over the garden that we have. So we can have our slope walls here on the outside. We can also have some here on the inside, of course. Same thing over here, and then the same thing here over on the outside. There we go. This layer, we can have some ceilings in here like that, and then we can have another roof going back into the same building so that we don't have to have a double layer too much. Then we can start filling in these walls, and we can connect them pretty much all the way back up to the main structure. And of course, they're going to be 4 high. So we just start filling in this entire wall just like this. And because In my case, at least, I want the textures of this outside wall to be different than the wall on the inside. We're gonna also fill in this inside wall, and that just means that you can have something nice and cozy for the inside, and we have something a little bit different for the outside of the build. So we'll fill in this entire wall. Once again, feel free to use some secret doorways, of course, if you want to utilize the space in between to maybe hide some storage or generators or something like that. But at least make sure to fill in this entire wall. Then on the other side, of course, we are going to be doing the exact same thing. So yeah, we're going to fill in all of this all the way through to the other side. And we have to do that twice, of course, because also on this side, we want to make sure that we've got this double wall to work with. So we'll fill all of this in. And then the final wall we need to fill in is this outer wall again. So once again, connecting it up to these slope walls and then making sure that we fill in this entire wall back into where it meets up with the main building. We can fill all of these in. And then all we need to do is fill in the top part of this. So we add ceilings along the top of this entire build, just following the shape that we've just created. And for now, we only worry about the outside bits. So just the outside two on the sides and everything until these roofs on the inside. So we're going to connect this up all the way through, just like that. And then here on the inside, we want to make sure that we add some railings over here, because of course you don't want to fall off. And then we're going to create a little balcony. So after two, we're going to have a pillar over here, a pillar on the other side, and we can have a pillar right in the middle, just like this. Of course, we also want to make sure that we have a nice door again in this wall, and then we can fill in the big windows on the inside here, so that we have a nice view as well. Then we can continue these ceilings one into this shape, and then actually I would probably take out one of these just like that, so that we have a little bit more room. We can have then the beams around the outside, because we're also going to introduce a little bit of a skylight into this section. And then we're basically just going to fill in the top with all glass ceilings. There we go. And there we go. That means that we've got the entire villa completed, or at least built up. Of course, we still need to apply the skins to all the different sections, but the main build is now completed, including the Dino Pen, all the different rooms, and the bedroom. But of course, there's still a little bit of work to do on the garden bit if you have included that. It's actually quite simple what I would do. I would at least have some railings, of course, alongside the outer bounds. So we want to have some railings alongside these foundations to kind of separate it from the landscape. Of course, depending on your landscape, you might want to change the shape, add more gardens, or maybe have like a higher fence around the entire build if you want to make sure that all your tames are secure. All depends on what your needs are, but for the very least, I would have these railings around the garden so that they're all nice and safe. And then of course here on this side, we can also continue the railings so that this section is also complete. Now then it's of course time to start skinning the entire build. I've mostly used the modern custom cosmetic as well as the modern planks or modern wood custom cosmetic to get all these textures in. Some of these are from the premium quantum custom cosmetics and from the premium Klingers Concret custom cosmetic. You don't need those, there's definitely alternatives, but if you want this nice concrete look that I've got, that is all from the Klingers Concret one. This floor, however, is just from the modern one, so you might be able to change this out. And from the quantum custom cosmetics, I've used it mostly for all of these structures, crafting structures that we have, because it has skins for that, as well as for these nice black textures for the roofs. Because with the normal modern custom cosmetics, all the black roofs turn into like wooden looks. If you do not have the premium one and you don't want to get the quantum one, you can also just paint metal or Tek into black, and it should still match up quite nicely. The concrete I really like, but of course, if you do not want it, you can definitely find an alternative for it. Maybe just switch it out for the white or any of the other textures from the modern custom cosmetics. So what you want to do, the inside of, for example, the Dino Pen, I've changed to this nice warm wood, which is in the modern wood custom cosmetic, which looks really, really nice. This, of course, is the black marble, so it's the matte variant, which I've used on this middle beam. But most importantly, I've also used on the outside here. So the sides of the Dino Pen are all this marble, which is quite nice because it adds a little bit of texture in. I've then continued the texture in this building. So this first box is all that black marble. And then this bit that sticks out is just the matte texture with the black, which is really nice. It makes sure that there's difference between those two sections, but of course you can pick your favorite. Then this back here is the white plaster, which is this building basically in the corner that we built near the end. And then of course a lot of this is the Klingers Concret. This whole thing is the Klingers Concret. This box that we have here, these ceilings, so the first layer is all the Klingers Concret to get that really nice look on the inside as well. And then you can see all the different textures that we've got going on. And then of course this side of the build is all also the Klingers Concret. Then I'm not exactly sure, but this is also from the modern custom cosmetics, some kind of plaster, which looks quite cool for a nice clean ground, which is what I've used all the way through the foundations of the side. Now, one thing that I don't particularly like about these is the way the side of the foundations look. So what I've done is actually continued the walls down into the ground. This will mean you will need to use a lot more materials because you need to have walls along the entire sides of all of your foundations. But that means you can get a much cleaner look to the build if you wish to do so. Now that's basically what I've used to skin everything. Then here for the floors on the interiors and for this upper balcony, I've used this really nice wooden texture that's continues all the way inside here as well because it's just nice and warm. Also continues all the way inside, and of course now we have the staircase back to where we have the concrete. For this build here, as I told you, because of the box below, this is still the concrete texture, but then the second half of this is the black texture because that is the one that we can see from the outside as well. So I have the black marble here just to add a little bit of texture to the bottom, but of course you can definitely play around with the textures and which one you want to use basically for each section of the build. So for the Dino Pen, I've used a particular palette. Then for this little thing, I've used the concrete palette. Then here we have more of the black plaster, and then we have the white plaster right over here, which looks really nice. Then we of course have the black marble for this big thing in the middle, and then once again the concrete to the side. And that's kind of how I've textured the entire build in these different sections. So that's what I would advise. Take each of the sections of the build and figure out a palette that you can do, whether that is with the concrete of Klingers Custom Cosmetics or the premium one or not. I'll leave that up to you. There's definitely different ways that you could skin it, and definitely up to your own personal taste as well, which you prefer the look of. You could even introduce some more wood on the outside, of course, or whatever you want, but it should give you a very nice base to use. So let's go into a quick little tour. If you want to see a more detailed tour, of course, that video is already up on the channel. So we have a nice garden area out in front. I've used a little bit of JVH to use all these plants, as well as some decor items from RR Home Deco, where we have a nice cozy garden for our favorite tames. And we have some dermises as well on display. We of course have the wild water pool. We have a cool dragon out here, some more plants just to bring some nice greenery and life to the front garden. But the main event, of course, here is the Dino Pen down below here, which you can enter from here. So we've removed some of these foundations to get the bio grinder in, which is a 4x4 if you're wondering for the shape. and then you basically bring it down half a foundation with like a quarter wall, and then you lay down a new ceiling to place it down into. But that kind of course depends on how high or low your foundations are, whether that is possible or not. Then we have the usual things for all of your taming, hatching and breeding needs down here. We can see it is pretty decently big here. You can see the Rex can easily fit inside still. The Uties are fine. We have the replicator down here as well, and we've also added in some additional light bars using the modern custom cosmetic to get some really cool light beams going on. But yeah, that's kind of what I would do for the decoration of this first layer down below to kind of keep it nice and clean. Then here, of course, at the side we can go up, but behind the staircase I have mostly just a little bit of my JVA stuff, so some workbenches for the plants as well as some water, so that you have plenty of water reservoirs around the build. Plus they look quite cool with the quantum custom cosmetic. So on this layer we have the steam forge right out here, which looks quite cool, and we have also a travel station, which is a modded transmitter to make it a little bit smaller. But yeah, you can have a little bit of a nice area out here. Then we can actually go into this area over here where we have more of our crafting stations all the way around, and a little bit of storage as well. And our Doid is standing quite tall here. We have the clock to boost everything, and then we have the entrance out here where the Enki is. We have some more water reservoirs, but more importantly, this is also a great place for your industrial forge. We've got our RGs parked up here as well, and of course we have this walkway where you can just kind of enjoy, and an easy access point. We have some nice windows where I've decorated with some more plants, but it also brings us back, of course, into the base if we want to. Now here we have the dedicated storage system, so we have a bunch of these dedicated storage. We have some more vaults if we needed them in every place where we could put them, and then we can go up. We have some libraries over here. Then we have a little lounge area right in here. We have the bedroom with the sleep pods right here with some personal storage, crafting station, and a Dino Depot, which is like a cryo fridge, and a lovely view, of course, of the volcano island here on Australis. And then if we continue our way all the way up, we have like a big living room with some of the RR home deco to bring some life to the place, as well as a little table to hang out. We have our little kitchen here, and we have some lovely tames hanging out here as well. And then we have the rooftop balcony here where we can park some flyers or maguanas if you want to quickly take off. And we have some more places to hang out, relax, enjoy the sun, and enjoy the views of the base. But yeah, there we go. That is my futuristic villa base, which definitely is a really cool base to use. Should give you plenty of space for most of the things that you will need in your playthrough, and hopefully if you do end up building this, it will serve you very, very well. Thank you so much for watching this. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course feel free to leave your future build suggestions down in the comments below. For now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.